Hare Krishna to all. In the last session, if you remember, our topic was the common sense approach to managing landscapes biodiversity. So, in that first one, biodiversity means all the living beings. That also we understood what do you mean by saying biodiversity? It means all the moving and non-moving things in the ecosystem is what includes the biodiversity. So by using them, how can we manage the landscape? So in the first, in the second day session, we actually found out what is the role of a farmer or a human being, what is his role in the biodiversity to manage the landscape. And I would like to change what Vasama Prabhu told, the only function. No, it is not the only function. It is the function, not the only function. It is not a simple thing. It's a big thing to orchestrate all the functions. It is a very big thing. It is not simple. It is very tough. Because why big? Why it is tough? Because we do not have the capacity to manage this. What do you say? Complexity. We don't have that capacity. We need to get trained to have the capacity, and the medium of training is our shastras. It is through the Vedic paradigm that we can understand how to manage this complexity. Only through the Vedic text we can understand that there is complexity. Otherwise, we'll think there is something wrong and we'll keep on doing the same mistake. So that our deficiency in managing the complexity is where we are. And so to manage the complexity, we need to understand the function of each and every species that is there in the ecosystem. So last class, we understood what is the function of human being. Now we will see what is the function of plants. So to start, I just want to recollect, what the context of our presentation and what we intend, what is the quality of life, what we expect by doing this presentation, and how we want the community to develop is there in this presentation. In this context, that is, we want stable families living peaceful, healthy lives in prosperity and physical security. I think most of you have read it. And then another important thing, what should be the education that we should get? We want real education in contextual decision making to live in harmony as a being in the ecosystem. What is contextual decision making? That we prepare a context. That is, how do I want my life to be? And then all my decisions should be in tune with the context. Otherwise, you will have to face unintended consequences. That is the meaning of contextual decision making. That is the education that we need. Otherwise, we'll go out of context and then we will end up in problems. And then to achieve all these things, that's the way we have to behave. That is about behaving with integrity as a being with all life forms by ensuring them to live their lifespan. That is our context. We want everyone to live their lifespan because we believe that they have a purpose. They have a purpose to accomplish when they are in this ecosystem. And then this has to be for generations to come, not just for today. In 100 years to come, also it has to be there. How can it be there? How can we ensure that in 100 years it has to be there? Because we have to take care of our life-sustaining environment. That is what sustains us. In the last slide yesterday, in the last class, the last slide was telling that without agriculture, there is nothing that can happen here. No cinema hall, no temple, nothing can function without agriculture. That is where we are. So then we have to see that, as per the context, we have to see that our life-sustaining environment is taken care of. Then only the thing will go on for years and years to come. So this was our context, and then this is our the Vedic paradigm based on which we believe that, to be precise, the system or the personality who made the system is complete and perfect, and what he made is also complete and perfect. That is the thing. And what are the highlights in this? It is syntropic. That is, the more you grow, the more resources you use, there is a way that it increases the fertility. It is not something that will deplete. The increase in population will not at all deplete the resources. That is what this paradigm is telling us. And another thing is, these resources are available at the site. Where you want, it is there. You needn't go for any inventions, it is already there at the site. That means it's a developed system. You don't need a coconut development board or a rubber development board. It is already a development system. No difference between a farm and the farmer, as we are a being in the farm. So we all collectively do it. Our work is to just orchestrate all other functions. So actually it is a collection of functions that makes the whole. So if one species is removed, if you don't value a species, that means you get functional problem only. The scarcity will be in the function. That is where it's important. While technology is sometimes important, biodiversity is much more powerful for creating a future we want. We are not against technology, but actually what technology is replacing is the biodiversity with respect to farming. This in the future slides, this particular highlight will be more emphasized, that while technology is sometimes important, biodiversity is much more powerful for creating a future we want. Nature is self-organizing and relentless. That is, you cannot defeat the nature. The function that has been made for each system, even if you try to do some harm to it, it will come back in a mutated form. We cannot, that each system has to function. There are no parts in nature. Thinking in wholes is critical to making better decisions. Like, if you want to get, you heard that, this curcumin is there, turmeric, it is good. It is the taking curcumin out of turmeric, and that is not same as turmeric. It is different. Turmeric is the whole. When you take a turmeric as a whole, we think, no, we are reducing everything to simple forms, that thinking that we have done a good thing. It's not. Nature doesn't work like that. You need to see the whole. Like, my body, I've got a chest pain. Okay, I'll manage my heart alone. It won't work. If heart has to function, all the other systems have to function. That is how it is, that we cannot manage nature in parts. That is also a very important thing. That is one highlight of this paradigm. So now we are going into a new topic called ecosystem literacy. We have heard about literacy. That is, Kerala is the first full literate state. That means we have learned to read and write. That is the literacy meaning. But what is ecosystem literacy? Is how to read the ecosystem in which we are living. See, a person to whom we are so associated, maybe your mother, your wife, or daughter, son, whoever it is, any change in his behavior or his face looks and all, now you will be able to identify something is wrong with you. You will ask her, what is the problem with you? Why are you crying? Or what is wrong with you? Are you experiencing any pain? That is exactly what ecosystem literacy is. That is, we need to learn to read the Mother Earth. What is she trying to tell us? By saying something like we call, since we do not know what she is trying to tell us, that is why we call her weeds or insect. That is why we are calling. And because we need to know, why is it that you are having an itch somewhere? That means it's like an itch only, a weed comes somewhere. So there is a function for each and everything. That is what the main thing of understanding ecosystem literacy is. That, understanding from the land what she is trying to tell you to do. What should you be doing now? That is what ecosystem literacy is. To become a land medic, like a medical doctor who is able to look at the body and say, what is the problem? The same way, we want you to also say, look at the land, see the changes there and say, this is the problem here. And I have to rectify this cause. That can be understood only by becoming ecosystem literate. Even though we may be owning a farm, but factually we are managing an ecosystem in which we are a being. That is where ecosystem literacy will take you to. This organic movement, we have heard, organic movement. Some new type of food is being available now, organic movement. It is built on a fundamental principle. What is it? The birthright of all living things is health. That is the fundamental principle of organic movement. That it's a birthright. Health is the birthright. This law is true for the soil, the plants, the animals, and man. The health of these four is one connected chain. That is, soil to plants, good soil leads to good plants lead to healthy animals and man. That is the living. Healthy landscapes, healthy food and fiber, healthy profits, people, healthy planet. That is how the link is. Any weakness or defect in the health of an earlier link. So that means if you're looking at the plant, the soil, any defect is there in the chain, it is carried on to the next because it is a link chain. So a defect in the previous link will carry on that problem to the next link and succeeding links until it reaches the last, namely man. That is how the link is. The widespread vegetable and animal pests and diseases are the evidence of a great failure of health in the plant. If you're seeing some problem in the plant, that there is a pest attack or something, it is to be understood as a great failure in the health of the plant. That is the second one. And if it is seen in the animals, it should be understood that it is in the health of the animal is affected, links of the chain. As a consequence of this failure in the plant and animal links, there will be impairment of health in the human population. That's the fourth link. So any problem in the previous link will be affected. See, now you see different disease condition of cows. It is because of the food it has eaten, the environment in which it is living. So that is how it has to be understood. Once you see a plant or a thing that is unhealthy, this general failure in the last three links is to be attributed to the failure in the first link, that is the soil. The undernourishment of the soil is at the root of all. That means from where the energy or from where all the health starts to come is from the soil. So if something is wrong with the soil, it will be carried on to the plant, from the plant to the animals, and then from the animals to man, or from plant directly to the human being. That is how the link is. So the environment, the soil is one that we have to consider. It is not just the soil, but it is not the soil itself. It is the soil life. There is a lack of life in the soil. That is the most important element. There is something wrong with the life in the soil. The soil is dead. There is no life in it. And that is exactly what we call dirt. The soil without life is what we call dirt. That is where we have to correct. What is the life that you see? What do you mean by saying life? It is a lot of things that live on the soil, as shown in the picture. That is the macro. What you are able to see. The earthworm, the rats, the squirrel, birds, many things you see on the centipede, millipede, they are all one form of life. And the other side, micro, which you can't see with your naked eyes. That is, 1 tablespoon of soil is approximately 1 billion soil microbes. That much is there in 1 tablespoon. It is even told that it is more than the human population in the world. 1 tablespoon is that much life is there in one tablespoon. If you look through the microscope, see, I've listed the classified according to which bacteria, how much will be there. These are all estimates, but this is what is considered. And the microscopical picture is also shown there. And the life below estimates, in 1 square meters, how much will be there is also given by the United States Department of Agriculture. And to be precise, it is 1 acre may house 10,000 to 30,000 pounds of below ground biomass. The below ground biomass, that is the life, micro life I'm saying. It is not the macro life, it is the micro life. It comes to equivalent to the weight of 20 to 30 cows. That will be the weight of the microbe life in the soil. That much life has to be there. So when do you call it dirt? When the life is not there. And this life decides our fate. How healthy we want, everything decides on this. It is the quantity and diversity of the soil life that decides the fertility of our landscape and our health. That is how it is. So soil health is the continued capacity of a soil to function as a vital living ecosystem that sustains plants, animals, and human beings. So what is underlined is so important. Continued. It is not for just during the rainy season. It has to be continuous. All seasons it should be there. And it should function. And it should be a living ecosystem. That is what soil health is. So then, can we expect this continued functional capacity from a soil that is bare like that? How can it function there? It is hungry, thirsty, with high fever as soil gets heated up because she is exposed to direct sunlight. Can you expect a continuous capacity from such a landscape? Or a bleeding landscape? What is a bleeding landscape? That is when it rains, You are seeing the erosion. That is when the sand or the soil is also taken away. A land that permits the soil to get eroded when it rains. Are we able to produce more food than eroding soil? Is it possible to get a continued function in such a soil? Or a landscape that is third-degree burns? Or the soil is naked, hungry, thirsty, and running a fever? It is not possible to do. So there are certain things that we should be knowing. This is exactly what I'm telling, ecosystem literacy. We need to be knowing this because we don't have the capacity to manage the complexity. So we need to be knowing every minute aspect of it. Such a poorly managed landscape ultimately leads to the elephant in the room. So to achieve quality of life, we are looking for, we need to holistically manage the landscape, or to be more precise, we need to take contextual decisions. It has to be in tune with our context that we have prepared in the initial slide. That is the context, and all our decisions should be in favor of that. It should be to achieve the context. That is why it is called contextual decision. Otherwise, I will never plan for hunger. I will never plan for malnutrition. I will never want to become a refugee. That is not my context. So if our decisions are not in favor of the context, you will end up with all these problems. So the problem is in our decision. And what influences our decision is our paradigm. But the truth is that without agriculture, is it possible to have a city, stock market, banks, university, place of worship, or army? Agriculture is the foundation of civilization and stable economy. That means our soil is our future. Quality soil only can give quality life. That's the truth. So once our soil has degraded to the extent I've shown before, there is no point in sustaining it. If you say, no, I want to have a sustainable agriculture, this is where we are starting. It has gone down. Do you want to sustain it? It won't work. You will be remaining there stagnant only. We need to first regenerate it. So, because the system that was given to us was complete, perfect, fully developed. So by our wrong decisions, it has damaged. So now there is no option for sustainability. It is only option for regeneration, not development. Regenerate it back to the developed state. So first regenerate it from degenerated state where we are now. What we need to be, we have to regenerate it, take it up to the climax stage or improve it, and then we get there, and then only think of sustainability. So regeneration is what is need of the hour now. So then how can we convert this dust or the dirt into a healthy soil? We studied in our paradigm that the resource is at the site. That is, you needn't invent or you needn't import anything. So how is it that I can make that dust into a healthy soil? And you see, that is how the soil should be looking, the right one. Structure of a healthy soil includes roots, soil organic matter, and biotic activity. Biotic activity means life. All these things should be there. So how can I convert it? And our Vedic paradigm clearly says, you needn't purchase anything. I have given it. I have made a perfect system. You want to do anything, I will provide you with this. Can you tell me what is the resource that is provided this site? There is no life without soil and no soil without life. It's called dirt only. So what is that resource that we have at this site to regenerate? Simple. We needn't purchase anything. That is told in this Srimad Bhagavatam sloga, that the natural products created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be utilized to maintain the bodies and souls of all living entities. That is, I have provided you the food for you, and then you have to just sustain on that. The necessities of life are of three types. From what do you need to get those things? It is those produced from the sky, that is the sunlight, moonlight, and the rain. From the earth, you get the minerals, and from the atmosphere also you get the minerals, the gaseous form. So it is clearly given that the resources, what you need to get it done, is so clear that it is the sun, moon, rain, minerals, and all those things. It is at the site. So now, what is the system that can manage these three things together and get it done? What is that species that is there in our landscape that can do this? It is See, it is the photos, it is the plant. It is the plant that can do it. How to make dust into dirt into soil. Soil cannot grow or form in the absence of plants. Plant is the resource that can convert dirt into soil, and to keep the soil increasing in fertility, we have got the resource, that is the plant. The plant is the thing that can harness all the resources that we mentioned in the previous sloga into food for us. Photosynthesis is the process by which the soil can live and become more fertile. Who made the system? It is made by the Lord. And photosynthesis, we only discovered that but it is the invention, everything is by the Lord. The photosynthetic capacity of the soil and the photosynthetic rate influences soil building. So now we look into what is photosynthetic rate and the photosynthetic capacity, but understand that this is the thing that we should see when you see a plant. It is performing photosynthesis. Now, fertile, humus-rich topsoil is a product of photosynthesis and microbial resynthesis. That is, we understood that there are billions of microbes in one spoon. They resynthesize it. And so this photosynthesis and what they do with the photosynthesis is what ultimately makes a fertile, humus-rich topsoil. Photosynthesis fuels all the life on Earth. Without photosynthesis, there is be no life on Earth. So let us just deep dive into understanding what is this photosynthesis? How is it doing this? We have studied in our science class. Everybody knows it's the basic science only. When sunlight falls on the leaf, which is the natural solar panels, we have only tried to mimic that solar panel, but here it's the natural solar panel where the sunlight falls and the water, and after the rain and carbon dioxide that is there, it converts it into sugars that we know. And furthermore, sugars, proteins, everything it converts, it gets converted, and that is because of with the help of the sunlight it happens. And then of the total 100% of the food that is produced, 40% is taken for the biomass to be developed above this 40% goes there. So now you have the remaining 60% that comes down. Of that in that 60%, 30% goes for the root biomass development, and the remaining 30%, that is where the secret is. 30% of the sugars moves into the soil as exudate. It simply flows out into the soil as exudate, something exuding out. That is what exudate is. Feeding vast microbial population that makes the plant healthy. This food, see, the food that had been given to the upper biomass, it is what is producing the apple or the chestnut or whatever we are eating. Banana, everything is being produced by using that, but that share that was given above the soil using the plant mass. That is how it was produced. Same sugar is being given for the development of the roots, and the same sugar is going to feed the soil life. That is how it is. And then that is how the soil utilizes the life, gets fed. And that means more plants means more life. More variety of plants means more variety of life. And that is what abundance, that is what brings in abundance, and that is what brings in fertility of the soil. The other two are functioning, but this is missing now because we don't permit biodiversity. Many issues are there. So I will just share a video to make you understand more of what is happening.
Plants, with sunlight and water, perform photosynthesis. They pull in carbon from the air and turn it into carbohydrates, sugars. Then they pump some of those sugars down through their roots to feed microorganisms who use that carbon to build soil. Voila, carbon moved. Plants pump it in and soil stores it. Nature's living technology is amazing.
So that is how this is called the soil carbon pump. And see the right side, as the depth goes, the color changes. That means wherever the root goes, there will be that color formation because of this exudates. And the soil life will come there and they will feed on it. And there are functions that these soil organisms will do. They have to take the food from the plant, and then they will go and do the duty that the plant wanted them to do. Maybe to bring some copper, maybe to bring some calcium. That is all. That is how the barter system takes place down.
Plant.
So just see this video. So building healthy soil solves everything. How? It is by the help of the plants. How does the plant helps? Plants grow by making carbohydrates from carbon dioxide. You know this process, photosynthesis. And then the sugars, they share these sugars down into the roots with the soil microbes, who in exchange feed the plant. This process builds soil. This is what is needed. This is the function of a plant. This is how a soil gets developed. At the root level, what all happens? The mycorrhizal fungi comes to take the food, and in return, they supply nutrients and water. Even this mycorrhizal fungi can provide even water to the plants, increasing root capacity 1,000 times. And by this, they also produce a sticky protein called glomalin, which brings the soil particles together. That is called the soil aggregates. They bring it together. It's called the mycorrhizal aggregates. And then on the other side also, see, the bacteria is also fed, who in turn also extract minerals from the soil particles and organic matter, allowing the minerals to become plant available. And these bacterial substances and consumption of bacteria by nematodes, this bacteria will be further eaten by the next soil life, nematodes, protozoa, and all those things. And then they all form another aggregates called the bacterial aggregates. So healthy soil is full of carbon-based soil aggregates and soil life. So now you see on the soil life facilitates soil aggregation. So you see on the right side, it's a functional one. That should be porous, looking like that, crispy, spongy. That is what you call a functional one. The other one is a dysfunctional one. It is because you see the roots in it. There will be roots also seen. If you take the soil, you should be seeing the roots there. There should be airspace there. That is how it is. So read below. Aggregates is soil aggregation is a biological process. Aggregates resist erosion. That is how, when it rains, if the aggregate is there, the water cannot take the soil away. Ultimate home for microbes because of the pore space and all. That is their hotspot. They reside there near to the roots. They create pore spaces. Large pores important for infiltration, drainage, and see that air passage. That is where the larger pores function, and the smaller pores is where the water gets stored and protection of organic matter and microbes. That is what this full thing is. It should be like this. This is how our soil should be looking. Aggregates. To understand further, please see this video.
When you're looking at the above ground part of the plant that most people see and the roots down into the soil, that plant is putting out foods. Every bit of the surface of that plant is pouring out foods to feed the proper sets of microorganisms in the balances that the plant requires. So it's putting out what's called in the scientific world exudates. The fruit, the blossoms, all of the surface leaves, bark, stems, everything on that plant is putting out an exudate for the purpose of growing bacteria and fungi. And that's really the only reason the plant's putting those foods out. Down in the root system, all of the roots, the structural roots, the lateral roots, the root hairs, the fine roots, they're all putting out foods to feed the bacteria and fungi. And of course, if a plant was putting out food that would feed a disease-causing organism, the plant would be dead. So when this plant growing its roots through the soil starts pumping out all this food, the bacteria grow, the fungi grow, and we have now 1 million bacteria per teaspoon of soil around that root system. We have, miles and miles and miles of fungal hyphae around the root system. So we've got a castle wall. We're protecting. And if the plant's doing that, how's it doing it? Through the exudates, through the foods that it's putting out. Simple sugars, protein, and then carbohydrate. What is that a recipe for? Cakes and cookies. So your plant is dumping cakes and cookies all over its surface, every single surface, putting out cakes and cookies to feed these bacteria and fungi so they grow to really high numbers and are protecting that root system from all of the diseases that would be trying to come in. So in a healthy soil that has the proper set of biology, that plant is going to be able to grow everything it needs to grow to protect that root. And of course, then if we've got all these bacteria and fungi growing, here come the predators of the bacteria and fungi. And when a protozoan eats a bacterium, it releases nutrients in a now plant available form. They release nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, magnesium, calcium, iron, zinc, copper, you name it, the whole list of nutrients that your plant requires. They release those nutrients in a plant available form, as long as we maintain that biology in the soil.
This is one.
So that is
When
where
you're looking at
the function of the soil life is. That is what sustains the health of the plant. So health of the plant means not only health of the plant, the animals and human beings. Everything is dependent on the soil life, the biodiversity of soil life there. That is where it's important. And it is through the plants, by the process of photosynthesis, that this happens. Now, if any person who has been in a garden or on a cropland, there are two pathways. Now we have understood one pathway, that is the liquid carbon pathway, whereby humus can be formed, and they differ substantially in their effectiveness. See, the right side, what you see is the liquid carbon pump. That if that is efficiently functioning, the humus formation is more in that case, up to 40 to 70% humus formation is because of that carbon pump. Only few is being lost. The diversity, that is what brings that. Whereas in the other one, what is that? The decomposition pathway. It is the top biomass after the death of the plant, or the leaves that fall are shed by the plant, or if it is an annual plant, the crop residues. They all return back to the soil and they are decomposed. Through that also the humus is formed, but it is less compared to other one because it is a part of the carbon cycle. It has to, again, that process has to happen and the carbon is released and then again it is taken by the plant and it has to go on. But the liquid carbon pump is more, increasing the life. See, when you say you are creating humus, it simply means which is the best system to create more micro life. That is the thing we have to see. The best system in this is the other one. It doesn't mean the decomposition pathway is bad. It is less effective. No, it is doing another superior function which the other one can't do. It is protecting the land. It is the dress over the land, all the residues are there, and that is the habitat of the other macro life, the centipede, the millipede, the earthworm. They are all living. So both functions are different. What I'm trying to say is the humus formation is more happening when the liquid carbon pump is there. That means it is better, always better to have a living root 365 days on your land. That is what builds this soil life. Because more soil life, more organic carbon comes to your problem. Because the organic carbon is dependent on the soil life, the microbes. That is what builds the mycorrhizal fungi or the soil bacteria. They all constitute. It is their live and dead form. That is debris. That is what is forming the organic matter. So that increase, if you are expecting, it can happen only with a live root. It's better with a live root. It's more effective with a live root. So this is a difference. Both the humidification pathway is the liquid carbon pathway. The decomposition pathway is the crop residue. Both are produced because of photosynthesis. One is the biomass. The other one is translocation to the roots. That is from the sunlight or the top mass, it is translocated to the roots. That is taken to the roots. One is decomposition. The other one is same as it is just translocation from the inner sunlight to the roots. One, the carbon dioxide release is there. The other one, it is less, it feeds more of microbes. And the one is called the organic matter. The other one, you get the humus. So in the organic matter, the issue is, it is a part of the carbon cycle. So it has to be again oxidized and it goes to the released as the carbon dioxide. But the other one, it is more stable form, the humus one. That is more happens with this. So what the take home message here is, living root is what increases the soil life. or living root is what, if that is what increases soil life, it is soil life that increases the organic matter of the soil. If you're looking for organic carbon, we need more soil life. So now we have two more terms that we have to understand, what that is photosynthetic capacity and photosynthetic rate. What is photosynthetic capacity? It is the amount of light intercepted. Just think about your garden. How much light is being intercepted by the leaves in your garden? That is what photosynthetic capacity is. That is, it is the capacity of your garden, of your landscape, the land you own. How much is your land intercepting? And you know what happens when it intercepts? Immediately carbon pump starts to take place and the pumping is going on. Soil life is being fed. We are also being fed. But not just the amount of light will do. For how much time in a year? Is it giving 365 days in a year? That is also important. Then only it becomes more, photosynthetic capacity is more. These two alone won't do. With how many types of leaves you're doing? Is it one architecture or different? See, the mango tree, the leaf structure is different. The jackfruit tree life, it is different. Avocado, it is different. For banana, it is different types of leaves. So is your landscape having only one type of leaf or at least 200 to 300 types of leaf? That is where the photosynthetic capacity means. Not monocropping, diverse. You need to increase the photosynthetic capacity of your landscape. Then only profit comes. So how many types are there? That is what's important. Different architecture. See, is the taste of mango the same as that of the jackfruit? That means the sugar produced, the protein produced are all different. So when such a food is given, see, I may be a person who likes jackfruit. Another person may be someone who's liking mangoes. So same way, when you give it down, there are different types of microbes who like different taste. And that is how the buffet comes. You need to have that different types. They all work together. Not that one plant can do. You have some, my plant is not able to produce, then the plant that is nearby, it will be providing you this particular plant what it needs. That is how the nutrients are taken by the plant that you have planted, maybe rice. It is because of the help of all the other plants that are around it. Ultimately, it comes to you as rice. What will happen if there are no plants around this rice plant is you will be deficient in nutrients. You may be getting rice because soil in our nature is self-performing. It will keep continuing. It's because you have removed the plants around it. The plant is not, the earth is not going to end its function. It will produce, give you some rice, but it will be deficient in nutrients because that nutrient has to be supplied by another plant, by the microbes eating the juice or the exudate given by the other plant. We are removing them, and that is how we are trying to grow it. So we are now nutrient deficient. That is the issue why it is happening. Very easily you can understand. Just have a soil thermometer. It's the same thermometer we are now using. No, when you go now to check COVID temperature, we are using one infrared thermometer. That thermometer will do. Just measure the soil temperature. If the soil temperature is somewhere in 30s, not above 32, that also we'll study in tomorrow's class. That decides whether the photosynthetic capacity is good or not. When the biodiversity is there, and when it is there 365 days, then only the temperature will be ideally there. And what is photosynthetic rate? It is the rate at which it is happening. How can the rate increase? It can increase only if there is biodiverse soil life below. Again comes the biodiversity. It is the biodiversity that increases the photosynthetic rate. And what is that photosynthetic rate? The 4 ecosystem processes that are there, which we'll be studying. They all have to be functioning superbly. It can all happen only when the biodiversity is there, because more diverse soil life increases the rate. This can be measured by an equipment called the refractometer. It is just, you're taking the juice from in the leaf or the stem or the fruit, and it is poured on this refractometer, and you measure the reading. That is how much, that is depending upon the nutrient density, the light will be reflected. That refraction, how is it that the light is refracted? It depends. If it is clear water, then the refraction will be 0. But if you have nutrients, depending on the increase in nutrients, it will be refraction will be 0. So this reading is also very important. Now we will see coming session how is your plant functioning, what is the reading of the leaf juice that your plant is having. So these two equipments will help you how is the photosynthetic capacity and the photosynthetic rate in your soil or in your landscape is. See, now just we understood photosynthetic rate. See the left one, what is the photosynthetic capacity there? In between there is a lot of space, there is no diversity. So once this particular thing groundnut is over, then nothing is there. So it is not functioning 365 days. It is not diverse, there is no diversity, and it is not harnessing all the light. This is what is happening in the monocropping. Remember, if you don't have a living root in the soil, you are not building soil or adding to the mineral and nutrient bank. See the right one. The diversity is not much. At least there is a living root all over, and the your maize plant is growing. So this is the ideal one where we have to think of. This is what is meant by photosynthetic capacity. See, again here the question is, what is your context? I'm not saying you should do it like the right side or not. What we are trying to tell you is, what is your context? You want a nutrient-rich food? Then this is the science. Now you have to decide whether I want it in this form with a nutrient-rich food, or I want it with less nutrient also. I'm happy. I want the yield only. But the context of this presentation is that we want a nutrient-rich food. So this is the way that we have to do it. 100% cover 100% of the time. Good. Preferably through living plants is the better option to harvest sunlight to improve the fertility. Now we have covered this soil. So it is also another option, but to increase the soil carbon or then the capacity of improve the fertility of this system, this is not enough. Because what did we say what does the Vedic paradigm say? It says the more you grow, the more fertile the land has to become. But when you remove the space in the previous slide, this is the picture in the left one. In which way are we increasing the soil fertility? We are depleting it. The right one is a little better. So we need biodiversity. Different plants has to be growing. Then only the Vedic paradigm can be achieved only through biodiversity. See this particular area. This is a place in Jaipur farm where we had kept the cows. Initially, this was just rocky, full of stones only. That was this land. After keeping the cows and doing it, there's a particular way of doing it, but since it was done. Now, after the rain, this is what we see there. This is the biodiversity that you see there. It is coming back. We can bring it back. And this is the only way. By bringing back the plants, the diverse plants, this is the only way wherein it is in the standard of the Vedic paradigm that the more you grow, the more fertile the land becomes. Otherwise, it is not the Vedic paradigm. It is a demonic paradigm. So the plants are the be-all and the end-all of our landscape. That is, if there is plants, it is the be-all. If there is no plants, it is the end-all, as you see there. Photosynthesis supports all life on Earth. Without photosynthesis, there will be no soil. See, this is an interesting part. To be free from the paradigm of pest attack, I will try to share some science here. See, you see the pyramid, and as in the photosynthesis process, the first thing that happens is the production of complete carbohydrates. Successful photosynthesis, production of complete carbohydrates. When this happens perfectly, if the carbohydrate that is produced is complete, then that itself is enough for the plants to be resistant to soil-borne fungal pathogens. Then it goes to the next stage, that is the production of complete proteins. This root exudates to microbes. It is given to the microbes who will release the nutrients in the plant available form. That is how it gets the nutrients to form the proteins. Resistance to insect with simple digestive system. Once this is ready, simple digestive system, those insects with simple digestive system, they will be resistant. When the production of protein is complete, not full production, the protein has to be in complete structure. That is what we call complete structural proteins, structural carbohydrates, structural proteins. And then with the surplus energy, these fats and lipids and oils are produced. At that stage, you will see the leaf glowing because of the oil, the waxy look it will come. That stage, it is another set of microbes or the pathogens that the plant is ready to resist. And then finally comes the plant secondary metabolites. That is what exactly we call the antioxidants, the curcumin in that particular thing, the particular flavor of some onions and all. It is all from the plant secondary metabolites. So it is the plant secondary metabolite that actually, that when you make a organic pesticide, we mix certain plant, neem plant you take, then another plant you take and you mix, and finally you get a decoction. What is it that is acting there? It is this metabolite, that's plant secondary metabolite, is that thing there that is resisting the plants, these insects from coming to your plant. So this is the most important thing that we need. This is the medicine. Even when you are taking a Ayurvedic medicine also, this is the thing that is really acting. Shall I tell you, we human beings who do not know the complexity, how it is functions, what do? We do some technique in our cooking process that can simply release this. That is, this will go away just by one process that we do in cooking. We boil the oil and put this vegetable and in that, we call it seasoning or anything. The full plant secondary metabolites will go away in your friend itself. And then you are eating some scrap. So we know that technique how to destroy, but we do not know how to take it. This is important. You put some ginger into the boiling oil, you can get that secondary metabolite. Immediately you start to cough. That is what the medicine is. That is, you will miss it immediately when you cook in oil. So this is the whole structure. So you have made, by cooking it in oil, you have made that particular thing which had a complete structure into a incomplete structure. That is what we have done, no? Same way, in the production process, like, in the production of this photosynthesis, at various stages of production, the carbohydrate or the protein or the fat that is produced has to be in the complete form. It can happen, some, like, you are giving 2 meters of cloth to a tailor and you're telling him, you make a shirt for me. So he will take your measurement and he'll start cutting. When he cuts, some parts are, he says, this is not needed. What does he call that? He calls it a waste, because we are doing it, so it's like waste. And then finally, the shirt is made, and then you have some cloth which he has cut and called the waste there. But in nature's manufacturing, there is no waste production. In case you have some non-structural proteins produced, there is a life form in nature who is deputed to remove it from there, because that will cause further damage to whoever consumes it. So in nature, the complexity is such that it has developed certain species who will come there, take these non-structural proteins and make the plant healthy and the produce healthy, so that whoever takes the final produce or the leaves in the next stage will have that health. Do you know who does that work? It is the role of the insects. They have the digestive system that can digest this non-structural. It is specific. It is their specific function. It is in the nature. Then how is it that so every plant, this insect will come, it will take away the non-structural proteins and it will go away. When is it that it is an attack? That we call it an attack is when we have managed the ecosystem and we have produced a plant that is full of non-structural proteins. How does that happen? By spraying pesticides, by adding fertilizers and removing the plants that are growing around the crop. But all these practices increases the quantity of non-structural proteins in the plant. Then the insect is duty bound to remove it. No, otherwise the person who is growing it will die. No, his health will go down. Finally, he will wear the mask and think it will happen. Nothing. You're not going to get any benefit of wearing the mask. This plant secondary metabolite has to be there. The insect should come, just remove the excess and go. Then only that produces good. So here, I would like to add one thing. That is, when this is the condition, what is it that you are gaining by spraying a organic pesticide? See, it is the health of the plant that decides. By using an organic pesticide, the plant is still unhealthy. What is it that you are gaining? We need to change the way. We have only changed the way we are doing things. We still call the insect a pest And the only thing we have made the change is we changed from the or inorganic to an organic pesticide. But still the plant is unhealthy. And the person who eats the produce from such a plant, how can he get health? That is a picture that will happen. So that is, we have changed the way we are doing things. What we have to change is the way we see things. We have to see that this insect, if it has attacked my plant, it is because some management that I have done is producing more non-structural proteins and all. That has to be removed. So then you have to change your practice. You have to change, you have to make the soil proper, the plant healthy. That is what is got to be done. So that is where the trophobiosis comes. It is as its foundation on the premise that insects and disease pests cannot utilize complete proteins and carbohydrates as a food source. So that is the function of the insect. So whatever that has been produced, it has to be like that. That is why the father of organic farming told that insects are nature's garbage collectors. Like, you know, the person, when you have a barber shop, there'll be a lot of hair there. Someone will come to remove the hair. The same way, insects come to remove the so-called waste or in the manufacture of the food, some debris which is there, they come to remove it. And each plant has a specific type of insects that come to remove it. Collectors and diseases are her clean up crew. They do it. It is for that only it is done. So when you have the diversity there, see, you can read that what should we think then about the multi-dimensional relationships plants create with soil organisms, other plants and animals. What kind of intelligence is being manifested? When biochemists create compounds in labs, we consider that as an act of high intelligence. That is, you know, you are making a chemical pesticide. We call it high intelligence because he has made that company made it. Plants routinely outsmart people. It is continuously being producing it. But it is dependent on the soil life that we have to give. And with respect to cows, you see, the more diverse the fodder the plant is, the more healthy they are. When cattle forage on diverse mixtures of forages as opposed to monoculture pastures, they are more healthy. So I will just show you one video then.
On this common ragweed, not only is it going to be very, very strong in secondary metabolites, but it is also going to be loaded with crude protein, TDN, and net energy. So its feed quality in not just the secondary metabolites, but the primary nutrients that we're used to is very, very high. This is not a waste weed. It is highly valuable to all forms of livestock. And so again, these are things that under the right stock density, our livestock learn to eat very readily and they benefit tremendously from it. Now, the other thing that we have to mention here is that these secondary plant metabolites are not only important to our cattle or to sheep or whatever other form of livestock we're grazing, but they're also important to other plants in the mix because these secondary metabolites can be transferred from one plant to another through the mycorrhizal fungi that is interconnecting these plant roots underneath the soil surface. So these secondary metabolites can transfer to this plant, to this plant, to this plant, to this plant, and confer stronger pest and disease resistance and stress tolerance on all the other plants around it. So why do we want to get rid of this? We don't want this to be a field of common ragweed. But if I have a little bit of common ragweed and horse nettle and ironweed and sumac or whatever else may be in here, that's actually very good because now we've got a diversity that simulates nature. What we have to remember is nature never creates a monoculture. Nature always creates polycultures, and that's what nature is trying to do here. The other thing we have to remember about what we call weeds, weeds are actually our first line of defense. And that's why when we have damaged or degraded soil, bare spots, all that, what do we always see grow first? Weeds. They're not growing to aggravate us, to pester us, to cause us issues. They are growing because they are the best plant at that time to rapidly repair that degraded soil. And we need to understand that. They're actually doing us a favor. And if we're just patient with that, and also knowing that, yes, our livestock will eat that under the proper grazing management, then these weeds become a very valuable friend to us.
And it's a lot easier working this way. Instead of battling weeds all the time, you all of a sudden, you know, the way we...
So that is the function of it. See, in that particular weed, the plants there, or Parthenium was there. It is also growing there. It has a function to be understood. The latest studies that, you know, this Parthenium supplies a lot of calcium to the particular soil. When there is a problem of calcium, Parthenium grows there because it is a good calcium supplier. And another more function I will say of Parthenium, people say that it is something that causes allergy or asthma. And I'll tell you, it is an excellent medicine for curing asthma. So when a plant has a function to perform, that it is doing, one is supplying the nutrients form, and otherwise also it is a food for someone. And when a plant is food for one of the beings that you are also a being, how can we call it a being? It is a plant. So it is the way we see things. It is not the way we do things. That's more important. See this here in this particular video, you'll be understanding what is the function of an insect.
What some of the herbicides, pesticides, and fungicides are doing. So neonicotinoids, for instance, just that one seed treatment that's used to control insects alters 600 genes in the plant. It is an epigenetic disruptor. These genes, some of them are responsible for plant defense and cell wall structure. They also reduce secondary metabolites, so the plant defense molecules like phenolic, salicylic, jasmonic acids, or hormones rather. It also binds to the minerals that the plants need for defense. It's just fascinating to me that we're using these controls that create secondary problems. So it's like, use my product, you're going to need these other products. And now we're on this treadmill, because if you don't use them, you're going to have more fungal diseases, even though you put on an insecticide, which is fascinating. What else do I want to say about that? Yeah, so for every one benefit from the use of neonicotinoids, there's 100 costs. So it's one of the lowest cost to benefit ratios of all the inputs that we use is the neonicotinoids. So if you can do anything for your system, take those seed treatments out. They also reduce mycorrhizae, so that's AMF, and PGP stands for plant growth promoting organisms, so in the soil. And they suppress beneficial insects' natural immunity. They reduce plant bricks, reduce sap pH, and increase free amino acids, which are what ring the dinner bell for other types of insects. So these insecticides, fungicides, and pesticides disrupt how that plant can function naturally and set it up for more weeds, pests, and diseases. It's fascinating. Do this for yourself. If you have a sap pH meter, is if you apply a fungicide, go out and actually test those plants after you have applied the fungicide, and what you'll see is that pH will drop. We were working in a vineyard, and the pH was dropping down to 3.6. I mean, it's basically, it's not quite battery acid, but it ain't good for the plants. And that's what would happen after we apply a fungicide. So it's very interesting. So insects and disease pressures directly and indirectly relate to soil health and nutrition. So so insects don't just eat everything. They avoid complete proteins and high brix food. And if they are forced to eat it, this study showed that it reduced their ability to breed, they laid less eggs, and then their juveniles were actually stunted. They grew smaller if you force them to feed it, all right? They will choose not to feed on complete protein, high brix food. And so this graph, which was from 30 different properties in New Zealand, showed so it's an insect pressure index that as insect pressure went through, it was extreme at low brix. So yeah, low brix, high insect pressure, and at high brix, we're seeing very, very low insect pressure. And there's actually a very direct correlation. I mean, often you see these graphs and they don't correlate at all, and you're like, how do they say there's a correlation? There's a direct correlation that as we lift plant bricks and plant function, insect pressure goes down. So if you're dealing with red spider mites, any kind of root chewing insects, nematodes, there's a direct relationship with bricks. So if you want to increase your plant defense, we're going to provide, we're going to help complete those proteins. So if there's a breakdown in that synthesis of proteins in the actual plants, they will form what we call the funny proteins or incomplete proteins. So we can use biological stimulants, humic or fulvic acid or milk will actually help to complete those proteins. Molybdenum and boron play a role in this in complexing these proteins. So take a look, do plant tissue tests, have a look. Lift your bricks and build soil health. Okay. I think I've
So what is told here, see, bricks is what we understood, that is the reading that you get from the refractometer. So once the bricks is above 12 or 14, it has been found that no insect will attack that plant. That is, the more nutrient dense the plant is, there is no, that is the more structural proteins and the structural carbohydrates, structural fat the protein has, the particular plant has as a result of the four ecosystem process, of which the major thing is the biodiversity. When it is there, it increases the photosynthetic rate of the plant and you see a higher bricks level. And that is what you measure from the refractometer. The more the higher bricks it is there, that is an indicator that no pest will be attacking. It has to be somewhere from 12 to 14. It has to be above. I'm not saying it can go to, depending upon how you manage, it can go even to 30 or whatever it is, but it should be above 12 to 14. Then you see that is there. Then the other thing is, when you are spraying a pesticide, what is happening? It is again increasing the pest attack. That is what is happening now. That is exactly what we are doing. We need to know the function of the insect. It comes to remove the non-structural proteins, which will be damaging for you. If you are eating it, then you will have a pest attack. You will be bitten by lice and all those things will come to attack you, and the virus attack, everything will be there. Even our present mask will not be able to protect you from that. That much it is there. So we need to understand that it is the higher the bricks, higher it comes. So it is like, cutting the branch on which you are sitting if you are trying to remove the insect or the plant from the system. So now you see, this is the picture that is happening in developed countries. Now the product is sold by displaying the bricks of that particular thing that they are selling. See, when the bricks reading is given below 15, the price you see, and when it is 10, what is the price you see? This is the way things are being sold now. We have reached that stage now. That means when you see that much bricks, it is sure that it has been grown in a particular way. That is how it is assured. Like when we in the first class, we told, no, that if you are getting a packet of milk today, it is simply because you have separated the cow and the calf. Same way now, when you read this price, you should be understanding that it is because it has been managed properly. That is why you are getting this much bricks. It is an indicator that, that is being managed properly. This is how it is being sold. Now the new methods, they are trying to develop it in a mobile phone so that when you purchase, you will be able to scan and understand the bricks and then purchase. This is where we have reached now. Just see this. This is our job, facilitate carbon pump to feed life. This is our major function as a farmer. That is, this carbon pump should take place.
4/7. Why? Right here. This is a slow motion video showing liquid sun leaking into the soil, feeding microbes. This is our job, producers. Energy flow to feed these guys.
Whom are they feeding? They are feeding the micro and macro life in the soil. They have to be fed. We might have studied, we might have ignored them. When you see a centipede, a millipede, the bacteria, we have ignored them, but they decide the fertility of the soil. And who feeds them? It is the plant. How? Through the carbon pump.
4/7. Why?
So we may be having different share markets, we might have be invested in all type of mutual fund and all, but the share market, the most profitable investment is in this share market. What is the share market? The liquid carbon is coming down, and this sugar and minerals, liquid carbon sugar is coming down, and the minerals and water are going. This exchange, that is called the rhizosphere, immediately around the roots. If this is the place where the maximum number of life comes to purchase something, the transaction is going on. If this doesn't function, there's not going to be any stock market anywhere. This has to happen. So the reliable investment that you can have to lead to achieve your context, this is where your investment should be, to increase this liquid carbon pump and to get the soil life more. That decides our future. Fertile, humus-rich topsoil is a product of photosynthesis and microbial resynthesis. See the right side, that plant, that mud around, that is called the rhizosphere. That is where the maximum transaction takes place in the world. This much souls don't come anywhere. This much life doesn't come anywhere. No market will have that we have created. Whichever mall we have created, this much transaction doesn't take place anywhere. Best is to invest here. This is a sinless profession. This is what happens. See the left side, how that soil was, and when the life was given by the plants, see how it changed, and what the total texture changed, the water percentage increased, the air percentage, that is not important, it became more porous. 50%, almost 40 to 50% is the air space. That is how the soil should be. That much change will happen. Now this soil, any water that falls, will simply go inside. That is where that stage is. That is what happens when soil organic matter is increasing. And every increase of soil organic matter is able to store 94,000 liters per acre, or if it is taken per square meter, it is 24 liters per square meter. See, one thing that we need to understand is, when we hear today it rained 1 millimeter of rain, what does that mean? It simply means that rain gave 1 liter of water per square meter. That is the meaning. So just imagine, if you have 1 acre of land, how much water fell when it is 1 millimeter? Where is the water going? That water has to go deep into the soil, because soil is the biggest reservoir of water. The water has to be held there, and that can happen only when the organic matter increases. You now know how the organic matter increases. It increases only when the soil life increases, and you know how the soil life increases. So it happens only when there is a living root, and not just a living root, it has to be diverse living roots has to be there. That is how it increases. See, so there is a statement in this Tirukural, in many Vedic text is that the plovers are the linchpin of the wood. That means, you know what the linchpin is. See the wheel, that pin that is kept there, that decides whether the wheel should be there. If that pin is removed, the whole universe falls down. That is what is meant here. Plovers, the plovers of the soil. Who are the plovers of the soil? It is the life, the roots plus the soil life. The roots and all the soil life fed by the plant, the root exudate plus the crop residues. That constitutes the real plovers. This is the plover. We have learned from the Vedic paradigm that the resources are at the site. This is the resource. You cannot grow anything without a plowed soil. And in this ecosystem, the plowing is to be done by the biodiversity. They are the ones who are supposed to do. We misunderstood the statement. We thought, okay, plovers, okay, then we need to invent something to do it. What did we invent? We started to make a plow. Sree Parashara Smriti, this is a statement given there. What sin or damage a fisherman incurs in the course of 1 full year, the same is incurred by the driver of a plowshare made of iron in the course of a single day. What you plow in a single day with an iron plow is simulated to 1 full year of fishing, the damage that he does. That is what it does. So here, don't misunderstand. It is the metal plow. It is not the Belram's plow. Belram's plow is a wooden plow, and it cannot do a damage because it can only pass through the top. It cannot go deep down. It can only pass through the organic material layer. It will not go deep down in the soil. This metal plow is not permitted. It is supposed to be a damaging act. Just understand how it goes. See this video, you'll understand. See, the real plowers are getting destroyed by our
Ploughing is a pretty radical idea for any farmer. But looking at some old footage from our farm, the damage it causes is now pretty obvious. This is our fields back in the 80s. The life in the soil is a feast for the birds. After 20 years of the same treatment, no birds, the soil is dead. Turning the
So what did we see? The real plowers are getting destroyed by the plowing we are doing. That is what we're doing, human doing. We do not know, we cannot understand the complexity. How is it that it's there? We are deficient in it. Our education system is not teaching us this. So what we do, we become the human doers. And what do we do? Previously we understood when we sprayed, we tried to kill the weedicide, we used the weedicide, the weeds increased. When we tried to use the insecticide, again the insects increased. Here also doing, it became compacted. See, the birds were feasting on the life. And finally we reached this stage wherein there is no life. This is what we are doing as a human being. Why? It's not that the human beings are bad, because we do not know the Vedic paradigm. We are not on that Vedic paradigm. We are not able to manage the complexity. And this is exactly why in our Vedic text, it is repeatedly telling us, control your senses. The sense, Indriya Vishaya, please control your senses. Please do that. Why? Because we cannot, Krishna knows that we are not able to manage the complexity. So we will only see now, oh, I want milk. Okay. So a cow that doesn't give milk, okay, I'll just finish it, cull it. Oh, bull calf. Oh, what to do with the bull? It does not give milk. No. Okay, you give it away, because we do not know how to manage complexity. Hey, I have planted some rice plant here. What is the other plant growing there? I don't want you. Remove it, because I do not know the function of that particular thing. Hey, one insect is coming. What is it? It is not an insect. It is a pest. Remove it. Kill it. Where did we reach after doing all these years of manually removing the pest, manually removing the weed? Which is the weed we removed? It only increased the weed. It is high time we change the way we see things. We have to learn to live with them. Understand that all the resources are provided at the site. We needn't invent anything. It is already there.
plough.
So our aim should be to allow sunlight to fall on a living leaf and not dead leaves or bare soil. That should be our aim, because that is what harnesses the energy into the soil, and that's what sustains us. So it is the plants that cycle soil nutrient. It is the plants that create topsoil. It is the plants that create good structured soil. It is the plants that build soil carbon. Photosynthesis forms the basis of the life on the soil, not life, not the soil or the plant. It is even photosynthesis, even more specific. That is what's needed. Any investment on photosynthesis, biodiverse photosynthesis, will never make us to have a lockdown. Any investment that we do that disrupts this photosynthesis, we are going to have more lockdowns. That is the mistake we did. It is not that we didn't have a good functioning mask. It is not, see, now when we wear a mask, it is as if the deficiency of the mask was the problem. Was that the problem? When we wear a mask, that is what it is. Till this day now, we didn't wear. I'm now 53. 53 years I was not wearing the mask. That is why this COVID has come. That is the meaning, no? Is that the reason for it? We do not know to manage the complexity. That is the problem. We have to learn it. And why did this happen? It is because all our development, so-called development, has been working against the photosynthesis process. Every development that we do, whichever company you say, it can happen only by removing the roots, no? Whatever structure we make, you have to remove some roots, no? We are digging our own grave. We are cutting the branch on which we are sitting. I'm not saying you shouldn't make a house, but there is a limit. We need to know that, that the complexity that the nature is, then what is our role there? So plants, by their function of photosynthesis, uses the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, replaces it with oxygen, supports the soil life. This support of soil life is what determines the health of the earth. Your health, the health of the soil, health of all the living beings depends on this soil microbiome. Regenerates topsoil, that is through the decomposition pathway, restores water balance to the landscape, enhances the nutrient density of food. That is why we are eating. No, we want the nutrients. Increases the profitability of agriculture. We always admire good manufacturers. So Henry Ford, the founder of Ford Motor Company, he says that the farther we get away from the land, the greater our insecurity. That is what he's told. See, there is a sloga in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 2nd chapter, 12th one. It says, immediately, this is something that was done by Hiranyakashipu, because he wanted to take control over the earth. So what is the command he gave? Immediately go wherever there is good protection for the cows and the brahmanas, and wherever the Vedas are studied in terms of varnashrama, go there, set fire to those places and cut the roots, the trees, cut from the roots the tree there. That is, remove the roots. What is the remaining statement? Which are the source of life. That is what. So he knew the technique by which human beings can be made slaves. Just go and remove the roots. We will become slaves. So ultimately, in the last presentation I told, it is the agriculture that is sustains. Now it is changed. It is ultimately the only wealth that can sustain any community, economy, or nation is derived from the photosynthetic process. Green plants growing on regenerating soil. This is what sustains us. To forget how to dig the earth. See, our father of the nation, he knew it. To forget how to dig the earth and tend the soil is to forget ourselves. The nation that destroys its soil destroys itself. These are statements made by prominent people. So when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at also change. We have to see it in a different way. To see a weed as a plant, we need to change. We have to see a weed as a plant and a pest as an insect. They all have their functions. Both are our resources. Thank you for your time. If there are any questions, please ask now. I'm passing it to the host. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. Now I request the participants to come forward by raising their hands to ask any questions to the speakers. Yeah. So the first question is from Krishna Katadas. Yes, Prabhu, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thanks for this session again. Prabhu, I wanted to ask a question regarding the term technology we used. In our last session as well, His Grace Madhavadas Prabhu has also mentioned that we are not against technology, but we'll use technology. And today as well, we heard about it. And I was wondering, like, to what extent we can go with this technology. So can you just give an example?
Definitely.
From the session, I just heard two terms. Yeah, I'll just finish off my question, Prabhu. So soil thermometer, we mentioned maybe we can use that thing. So I just wanted to know what are the limits, and when you say like we are not against the technology, but on the other side, if we go through the Vedic paradigm, it conflicts. I mean, the two things conflict. So I just wanted to know your perspective on, or to what degree we have to consider the technology and where we have to draw the line. So,
very good question, Prabhu. Much needed question. See, we want you to make decisions properly. This particular program is to help you in making right decisions. So if I say, or if Madhav Prabhu says, don't use technology, then who is the decision maker? We are the decision makers. No, we don't want it. We are telling technology is there, and we are not against it. You decide. This is what the damage will happen if you do it this way. And now you are now empowered to take the right decisions. It is not in my hands. It is in your hands. It is clear to you the extent to which we use. The more photosynthesis that takes place, the more soil life. That is what is going to sustain us. So the development that we do, see, like for example, we have developed a plowing machine. The tractor is not the plowing machine. Tractor is it gives traction, but the real plowing part is what is you tie it on the backside, connect it on the backside. We have made it forward. It is replacing the biodiversity, isn't it? Whatever technology that we have made is actually, with respect to a farm management, it is actually replacing biodiversity only. One species you miss, you make a technology there. That is what has happened. So the more we lose the species, the more technologies we will have to use in the farming. So by bringing back the biodiversity, one technology produced that you are using will start to go. So first understand the science, and you now with the knowledge that you have got, take a decision, draw the line.
Okay, yeah. Prabhu, just an extension to the same thing we discussed, the natural plow.
Yes.
So when we saw the plowing and then sowing. Yes. So before sowing, like we plow the fields and so on, and if we consider, if the natural plowing is going on with the birds and as the nature does it, and how does this go with sowing? So if I want to prepare the farm to sow something, and if the natural plowers are kind of interfering every time, because in your video we saw like all the birds and all they completely covered the soil. Yes. So here, like just to understand now, how should I sow? Like even if I sow, like would they grow? Like if they're completely covered by this natural plowers? So yeah.
Yeah, that is another very good question. See. That is why in our Shastras keeps on telling us, Indriya, control your senses, control your senses. See, what is the control we need? If you want to live with the Vedic paradigm, there should be a control of senses. If you think, I want to grow this much tons. See, last time I got 5 tons. I need this 10 tons now. That is the Indriya Vishaya there. More, I want to make more. Then naturally you'll be tempted to go against the Vedic paradigm. But if you're working with the Vedic paradigm, if you have observed, then you have harvested paddy. If you have observed in a paddy field, after you harvest, you just harvest, cut the paddy and go. And then if you leave that property like that, okay. I'm just telling you the way it is left now. The next rain, what happens there? Naturally, the paddy that has fallen there starts to grow. No? It starts to grow there. So that means we need to develop a system of rotation. That's exactly what our Musanobu Fukuoka also did. He throws the seed before the harvest is done. And then after harvesting, he takes the paddy inside, removes the grains, puts back the paddy straw over the land, and then the next rain, it starts to grow. There is no plowing at all in that system. It can easily happen by observation. Prabhuji, if you are on the land, working on the land, you are much more experienced than me. The thing is, what is the principle you are applying in your expertise? How is it that you are doing? We are only asking you, Prabhu, you have done it with this paradigm. Okay, just try this paradigm. That is all what we are saying. So it happens. Every plant that at the time of harvesting, I'll give you another example. In Jaipur, we fed the cows with this cluster beans, jowar, wheat, hay, then bajra hay, and bajra. That was all fed to them. And then what happened was, wherever the cows are moved daily, they are in different spots. After the rain, what happened was, we saw all over the property bajra, cluster beans, and all these things growing there. So when was the seeding done? So that is by observation that you have to develop. But at the same time, have one thing in mind. You have to control your senses. By this, you can get your food. But if you are not able to control the senses, as told, not by me, but in the Shastras, then you will start to manipulate. So by observation, you can do it, Prabhu. In the coming sessions, that will also be covered, but I've given you just an overview of the test.
Yeah, okay. Prabhu, just one last question before it goes to other participants. When we talked about the weed removal, Prabhu, I mean, I'm not experienced in farming and so on, but I'm just learning. And so, I mean, I think there would be a lot of questions about the weed removal the following. So even I was thinking that probably weed removal is kind of unnatural. So I had this thought. And later, once I read the Krishi Parashar, I'm not good at Sanskrit, but I just tried to read translating and so on and so on. So in that in that Krishi Parashar book, Prabhu, it was mentioned that weed removal is part of the whole cycle, like so when sowing and then weed removal phase. So again there was a kind of conundrum to understand. I mean, weed removal seems unnatural, but here it says like, I mean, in the Shastra it says like it's one of the phase of the whole cycle before harvesting and so on. Yes. So can you just give some idea?
If you change the way you see it, weeds itself, it is removed. No. If you see it as a plant itself, it is removed from that system. No. Ajit Prabhu, can you add here? Ajit Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu, please.
Audible?
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
Krishi Parashar actually does not mention about the removing from the roots. Actually, you need weeding because your main crop, suppose you have cultivated, say, moong.
Prabhuji, don't call it weeding. You have to control, you have to manage the weeds. Weeding is a different act.
Yes. So, no, the Krishi Parashara, even if you read, does it speak about the uprooting the weeds?
Okay.
Or the uprooting plants which are growing along with the main crop. See, we have to learn from it that it should not go above your plant. So if you manage it, if you thin it and make it lower, like I cultivated sweet corns and the popcorns this year in the February I had sown. Now full of weeds are beneath it, but I harvested the popcorns and sweet corns. They came very nicely. Along with that, I had sowed some cowpeas, the beans. So it had climbed over the sweet corn, and there were several weeds growing along with it. It caused no problem to me. So actually, you need to just manage. Once I trimmed, I pruned them, and the sweet corn and the other corn plant had taken over. So the much sunlight was not reaching down, so they could not grow much, but they were all there. So we have to just manage them. So Krishi Parashara mentions about the removal of the weeds, but it is actually managing them. It doesn't mention that you have to approve them.
Okay. Yeah.
That's my understanding.
Thank you, Ajit.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. The next question is from Vamshili Das, Prabhu. Prabhu, please go ahead with your question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Dandot Pranam, Prabhu. I think part of my question was answered. My question was regarding because the general perception is that insects are eating our grains.
Yes.
Insects are coming and taking my rice and my wheat and my millets, and weeds are taking away the nutrition from my plants, which I want to grow. Yes. So the perception is completely self-centered. Yes. Now we are like we have come together. We are a group of people who are trying to change our paradigm. Yes. But when we evaluate the success of our paradigm, how to change the metrics by which we evaluate our success?
Yes, that is it. That if you see the yield, that is how we see the yield. Prabhuji, the yield will be more once, but as you keep doing the same thing, it starts to decrease. See, what is it that we need to understand is, you grow, you are increasing the yield, no problem. But is your soil becoming more fertile? That is where you have to. That is the matrix we have to understand. Because the Vedic paradigm says, the more you grow, the more fertile it has to become. Okay, you are growing. But is your method increasing the fertility? Is the rain that is falling on your property where you are getting this much yield infiltrating into the land? Is the mineral cycle being properly done there? Is the sunlight being properly harvested? Is your organic matter increasing after every harvest? This is the matrix that we have to see. If, which are practice, Prabhu, if, see what we have told you a technique. You are saying, yes, I have another procedure. Good. If that is in tune with the Vedic highlights that, you know, the more you grow, if the soil fertility increases, that is the best thing. That is the matrix that we have to see. That is, you know, now what is our fear? Oh, the population is increasing. we'll have to starve. That is not what the Vedic paradigm is saying. So then, which is the system that can keep on producing for the years to come, the same way it is being produced now, or even in a better way? That is the system that has to be adopted. Okay, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. The next question is from Sachin Revankar, Prabhu. Please go ahead with your question.
Namaste, Hare Krishna.
Namaste.
This last time I was curious how to manage this Parthenium.
See, Parthenium, what is the, see, Parthenium also, see, it is an indicator that something that you have done has gone wrong. And as you understood in the videos, that it is the only way by which you can bring back to develop that land is the person who is managing doesn't know that he is managing a complex situation. So what does he do is he will again see it as a reduction as you want to remove it. And you are now, the question itself means that you have not succeeded. So then there has to be another way. That is, by keeping that itself, you need to have a separate development. And that technique will be coming once we cover the cow part.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. So the next question is from Venkatarama Reddy, Prabhu. Yes, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you for your wonderful session. So I have this question, like traditionally we see our older generations or ancestors doing plowing, in fact, using oxen for paddy cultivation, other thing. So with this changed paradigm, how can we correlate it? Like, so is it the plow they used to have a wooden, or the plow we are using iron is prohibited? How do we, or plowing at all not required?
Plowing with wooden is okay, Prabhu.
Okay.
There is a limit to which you can go. But the metal can go deep. That is where the problem is. It is like, you know, Prabhu, you are sitting peacefully in your house. Suddenly something happens and your roof goes away. That is what is happening there. It disrupts the life. Then that means that life is what increases the soil organic carbon. That is what decides how much water your soil will hold. Everything is dependent on the soil life. So we cannot do anything that affects the soil life. We can do everything that increases the soil life. See, even the Jivamrita, that is something that increases the soil life. That is why we are seeing results with it.
Yeah, and then a related question. I heard that there is a limit how far you can, how deep you can plow wood. I think it's 4 inches or 6 inches. I don't remember. Somebody can tell me, like from Parashara Krishe, I remember that there is mention of how deep we can plow.
See, Prabhu, that depth is when you have your topsoil, not your present stage. If you go and read it, and if it says 4 inches, it is in the original stage when the topsoil is that how much topsoil has to be there, and above the topsoil you have the whole ozone. That is where, you know, the full organic material is there. That is where it is. So if I ask you, Prabhuji, what is the color of your soil? You will say it may be red or black, but that is not the actual color. You should never see the soil. It should be always covered. So with what? The living roots and with the plant debris. So then when you put the first 4 inches means itself it is in the plant debris only. So if you go and read somewhere 4 inches is permitted, it is not on the present stage. The soil is gone. Most of the farming now it is on the subsoil. How further can we go, Prabhu? We can only keep adding. There is no option now. Now what we need is regeneration. The question that is asked is, when it was an abundant stage, when there was topsoil, then it makes sense if you start with 4-inch. Now, no, there is no option, Prabhu. Think otherwise.
Understood. Our ancestors preserved that, and then we have damaged that.
So now if you read that Parashara Smriti, and if you go saying that, it is, he has permitted you to go 4 inches, then you are again going deeper in the subsoil only, not in the soil.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. The question is from Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha Prabhu. I have seen his hand has been raised.
Yes, Prabhu. Okay. Yeah, Prabhu. Prabhu, when we are talking about the technology thing, Prabhu, the drip system I wanted to ask about this drip system. Drip system, to some extent, it's somewhere in between, I see, Prabhu. Like, it's again the man-made thing, like the drip system having the drip. And so on one system, it helps. But on the other side, if you think like it's kind of a little complicated. You need to have a bore setup and so on. And if you want to graze your cows in the farm and so on, like it's disturbing for the cattle as well. And so here, maybe is this a good example, Prabhu? Like, okay, now we came so far that the soil is not good. And now to increase the biodiversity, maybe you need to start planting some plantation, and at least to get back to the previous stage, you need to have a drip system. And once everything gets up, and then withdraw from the technology. Can we understand in this perspective, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. See, you remember last session, Albert Einstein was saying that if you continue to do the same way and you're expecting a different result.
Yeah.
So now what we have to see here is, what is it that actually caused the problem? It is our yield perspective. I want to produce it. For what are we producing this? It is for the market. Which market? The value-added production market. That is where it is going. So now in your degraded state, if you want to do, naturally you are having land, you need to produce something for you to eat. Okay, agreed. But now for the regeneration process, you should limit the land where you want to grow. Don't do the same mistake. That is, you are again producing for the market when it's already degraded. You cannot get a different result. Even if you do it with drip irrigation also, the results will be the same only. Again, it is further degrading. So you have to limit it to a smaller area where you will be only using it for home consumption. And as the soil builds up by the process of regeneration, and then slowly, you can start to expand. And as you said, more of some that is what we call the agroforestry systems will have to come in place. More biodiversity will have to come in place. All those things should come together, because this system is so complex. It is not that easy. Now there is a scope for us to sell sugarcane. Okay, now we will grow sugarcane everywhere. It is because we are reductionist thinking. That is not how it is.
Yeah.
We need to think that this is a complex system. It cannot happen that I cannot maintain that sugarcane factory and be alive. That is what you have to see. You have to be alive. No, you are growing sugarcane and you have committed suicide. Is that progress? Is that development?
Yeah.
That is not how it is. No. So now drip also you do, but you should, before that you should understand what is it that this is a technology. What is it that it has replaced? It has replaced the water holding capacity of your landscape. Yeah. Now you are providing it.
Tomorrow, I think we'll be covering up, no, Prabhu, in 4 ecosystem process, water cycle management.
That will be there. This is only to his question, that it has to be there. So it is only pumping water from somewhere to where it actually belongs. True, you can use, Prabhu. That is where the limit of technology is. Please don't commit the same mistake. That is producing for yield.
Yeah. So just to summarize my understanding, Prabhu, like now we have come so far, and now we have to kind of build this biodiversity system. And for that, like the plants play a key role, and again, the grazing and all, they come into picture altogether. So as a drip system, like now to improve my soil, there has to be a biodiversity. And for this biodiversity, I have to think about the agroforestry things. And at least now that we have come so far, like now I have to build the agroforestry, and for that I need watering to this. And I'll use the drip system until I develop this agroforest to some degree. And when I see that it has improved, and slowly I'll try to withdraw and go back to our.
Yes, reverse engineering. We call it reverse engineering.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. The next question is from Suresh Pocharity.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So in our Indian traditions, the farming is cow is the key component for farming.
Yes.
I would like to know for the other countries, they will not be having the same brand Desi cow now. Yes. How they will do that? What is?
But they have Deshi cows. They have Deshi cows.
All countries are.
Yes, every country has, whichever, maybe in some areas it may be cows, in some areas it may be goat, sheep, depending upon different ones. But every country has, if that country has cows, it will be Deshi only. What does Deshi means? Local.
But we all say that Indian cow is the best cow for farming, milking, all this.
It is the best cow for India. It's the best cow for India.
Okay, not for us. Okay.
They have their own breeds there. Let them survive with those breeds.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu. The next question is from Akhil.
Namaste, Prabhu.
Namaste.
See, now maybe this might be covered, but I thought I'll just check. Say, for example, any sort of, I mean, we can't call it as pest or weed, but how to understand that, like, say, for example, I'm just telling an example. In Kerala, we have, for this coconut tree, there is an attack called, a sort of beetle comes and attacks.
Yes.
Now, from the session, we understand that basically it can't be called as a pest. It's sort of indication. Now, how do we get to know that? Okay, like from, say, for example, this particular pest is indicating this particular problem, or say, for example, a particular plant which we usually call weed, and now we can't call it as weed. And how do we understand that? Okay, this is the this is showing this particular reason. This is the particular reason why which this plant is coming up. How do we get to know that?
Yeah, that you'll study. Tomorrow's session is that.
Okay. Okay.
Good question.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. The next question is from Sangeeta Reddy, Manasaganga Mataji. Please go ahead with your question, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, actually, I've heard about this earlier, that for a farmer to keep a cow, there is this minimum land we need per cow, which was not discussed, which is going to come in further sessions. My question is that generally, if we look around today, when you go to an average farmer, they have very small portions of land, like a ½ acre or 1 acre. So obviously, it will be difficult to keep a cow in such a land, because for grazing purposes and other things, it will not be useful. So under these conditions, you also suggested that maybe you should invite cows from somebody else, but that takes a lot of cooperation, and not people are having cows around. So if that is the case, is it okay that if I have a small piece of land, then using the Jivamrita or composting methods, if I want to regenerate the soil, will that be okay in that case? Ideally speaking, it's nice to have cows grazing, and that is absolutely the ideal way. But that is for like someone who has 10 acres, maybe more. And I have experienced with cows that if you have a cow and she is always, every year we have a baby coming along, that is the nature of a cow. So how do we, is this okay to have other regenerative processes, maybe till there is a more cooperative way, like, we can invite other cows from a neighboring farmer or something like that. Is that okay?
Surely. See, the only thing is the principles should be in place. So you see, this is the next option. That is, you are using Jivamrit. What are the supplying there? We are supplying the soil life. It's the next option. But as I told, that the best option is that you have to think as the whole. The full complexity should come in place. Then only you get the best one. But this is okay. There's nothing wrong. It's a transition phase. That is how we reach the other one. We have to be more emphasizing on the principle. Am I damaging? Then another thing is, Mataji told that every year you have a cup. That is the nature of the cow. It is the nature of our management, not the cow's management.
Okay.
We are managing it that we get a calf every year. But in nature, that doesn't happen.
I had this understanding or maybe misunderstanding that a cow, by nature wants to be mother. So if it comes to heat once in a month, and I have understood that it is most happy and fulfilled when it is a mother. So for purposes of like management ke liye, if I restrict that also is like sinful. That's what was my understanding. So is this okay? Like I did hear about Mataji from Agarwal Farms that they have all the bulls in one farm, and the cows are that's how they probably control the population. So I wanted to even understand, is that okay? Is that a rightful practice?
That is again, we have to let me first finish the first part. That is, actually, milk is a seasonal product. It's not a product that you can get 365 days.
Yes.
That is how it has now become from Australia or somewhere to come. But that is not how it is. It is actually a seasonal product. That we will be able to understand only when it is done the contextual way. We have decided a context and it has to happen that way. Now it is happening as per the context of the dairy industry.
Yes.
So that is teaching us every year we should have a cow. The cow will come in the heat like this. It is not like that. The heat process is dependent on the soil life. It is dependent on the green that you have on the ground. It is related to that. In summer, there is not much green. So then naturally the cow controls its heat. So now it is the dairy paradigm that is not within our mind. In nature, it is not like that.
Okay, Prabhu. So I am. Thank you. You really cleared a lot of misunderstandings. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, I have seen again one more question. Yeah, I think this can be a last question. Last question is from it is from Krishna Katha Prabhu.
Sorry, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, well, I had a question regarding the monocropping versus the polycropping, Prabhu. Just to understand this, Prabhu, the place where I live, there's a farm like 20 acres, Prabhu, and there's a very good biodiversity. And I think for almost 20 acres, they do the monocropping. So I was wondering, monocropping, is it specific to season, or within a season there should be a polycropping, or monocropping per season? So last season I saw that they have grown for 20 acres mustard, and this now they have grown wheat. But in India, for example, all over the year, most of the farms, they grow just paddy. So that's I thought like, okay, that's not the ideal approach. And here on the other side, they are doing polycropping, monocropping per season. Like they change the crop every season.
Crop rotation.
Yes, crop rotation. And so what is the best way? Like within the season, you need to have polycropping, or you need to have a crop rotation? I mean, of course, one thing is definitely there. These 20 acres, I think it's again the value-added thing. They do it for some purpose. Commercial production.
That is the problem.
So that's all true.
Only when that gets corrected, all these will get corrected. For what? That is the question is, what is the context? Why is it that they're growing like this? That has to be corrected.
Okay.
That is where the problem is. So, their intention is to produce more maybe for a value-added production industry or something they are doing. So in that case,
the system that they do will finally end up in a degraded soil. That is how it will come up to. So our context is not that, so then it is not something that is all that, you know, this crop rotation is better and a better option, but it is not the ideal option.
Okay, yeah.
Because finally it ends up in degradation.
Okay, despite of having a good biodiversity and all.
But if you know, if biodiversity means at one point of time, now different types of plants should be growing. Your land should be harvesting all the sunlight through different plants, different leaves. Is it happening in monocropping?
No.
And how come it is right?
Okay. Okay.
The crop that you get from that will be deficient in nutrients.
Okay.
So we will have to depend on another technology, that is supplement. Supplement industry will flare up. The more organized your cropping is, the more organized the diseases also will be. The more organized the health sector will be. When it is in the so-called disorganized way, you know, we call biodiversity disorganized way. That will reduce the dependence on vitamin pills or food additives.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. The next question is from Karan Shetty.
Yes, Prabhu.
Namaste, Dr. Sree Kumar. I just wanted you to explain, most of my questions got answered, but just this last point you mentioned about cows coming on heat in relation to the weather conditions. I didn't quite understand that part.
No, is it okay that, you know, that is actually covered in one of the sessions?
That's okay. Then it's okay, because I am a new farmer and I just have one cow, so I'm very interested in that.
Oh, surely. Oh, how much land you have?
I have 9 acres.
Wow, one cow, super.
But slowly only I'm developing because I'm new to agriculture.
Don't worry. Now your rate is almost right. Yes.
Okay, great. And it is grazing, and like you said, there are many plants, different types of plants and weeds growing, and I don't like to take it out. But the local people who are working with me are very much against what I'm doing.
See, in my property here also, if I give it to the laborers, okay, you go and do it, they will do it their style only.
They put that calavate and take out from the root.
You should be there. Only you have understood. The only option is teach them and then do it. Otherwise,
okay, thank you.
Don't miss the cow section there. The cow section, please don't miss, because you need it.
Don't miss the cow section. No.
The last
I won't miss 1 minute also. I'm early by 15 minutes. I need to learn. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Thank you, Madhuji. The next question is from Swarnim Jain.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Prabhuji, nowadays I have heard about a concept called green manuring, which is used for regenerating the degraded soil. So where the people sow a combination of monocots like grasses, like grains, various grains, and dicots for nitrogen fixation. And after 45 days in pre-flowering stage, they plow it or use a rotavator to incorporate into the soil back. Basically, this technique is for incorporating or increasing the carbon content or organic carbon in the soil. So what would you recommend, that whether it is a good practice or not?
Ajit Prabhu, you are there.
Yeah.
Prabhu's there.
So according to you, it is a good practice, isn't it?
Ajit Prabhu.
Yes,
Prabhu, please go ahead with your answer.
See, that rotavator being used to green manure it.
Yes.
How much carbon will be released by rotavator, and how much you are depositing in the green? And it is farmers need to have. Thank you.
You have some connection problem there.
Yes, yes. I'm not able to hear the voice clear.
Then I will complete. See, what he told is, it's another option. That is, what are we trying to ensure that biodiversity? We are trying to ensure the biodiversity by growing different crops, and then we are trying to do rototilling. That is what is done now. But how is it that the soil fertility improves? It is through the carbon pump. That is the thing. So now what you do is, you grow it to a particular stage, and then you are rototilling it. That means you miss the full carbon pump, and you go to the decomposition pathway, which adds less carbon. So it is best to grow the plant fully and to have both together, the plants growing and the residue together. You understood that? See, there are two pathways. One is the liquid carbon pathway, which you are not permitting. By 45th day, you are cutting it. That means liquid carbon pump is stopped. And then you are removing the roots. That means, again, you are exposing the soil and you are permitting the carbon to get released. So if you are supposed to get 100, you may get only 10. But you are seeing that 10 as good.
Yes.
You should have got 100.
Yeah. So best practice. Could you just repeat? So what is the best practice?
You see, best practice I would say is, when it rains, a lot of plants will come. I'm telling the cheapest way, because in our principle, we have the resource has to be at the site. So immediately as soon as it rains, different types of plants start to grow. We can do the same management, no, with that same plant itself. We can do. No? Why do you want to import some weeds from somewhere else, some plants from somewhere else? You didn't uproot or do anything. Let it grow, and then see, all these plants are annuals. They will die off after their life. They will fall down there only. You can bring in the cows and get it grazed, and then get it recycled. See, all this rototilling and all is replacing the function of the cow. They will push it into your ground. They will push it into your ground. That will be a better option than the rototilling and trying to use. It is another option. See, what you are doing is better than what was done before. You are trying to add, but you are losing more than you are gaining.
Yes.
Because finally you are uprooting now.
Understood. Yes, sir. Yes, Prabhuji.
You are shifting from the liquid carbon pathway to the decomposition pathway.
Yes. Now understood.
So more carbon will be thrown out only, and maybe 1%, 2% only will be actually stored.
Yes, Prabhuji. And also you told that live mulching means you told to cover the ground fully. So we can use companion crops for live mulching.
Yes.
So it is the best way than straw mulching. Means dead straw. If we do the dead straw mulching over the ground, so it is not very effective as the live mulching.
Yes. Because you should understand how. Because one is permitting liquid carbon pump, the other one is permitting decomposition pump.
Yes.
Your intention is to improve the soil carbon. So soil carbon improve, it is 70% addition will be there when you are using the liquid carbon. The other one is less than 10%.
Yes.
But finally, both are covering the soil.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. The next question is from Arvind. Please go ahead with your question.
Namaste. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I'm a novice in this field and I'm yet to become a farmer. I'm looking for land. I have already left my job here in Bangalore.
Yes.
Yeah, the question is, I've seen in Europe that there will be a lot of empty lands, wastelands filled with very green grass without any intervention from anyone. Is it not a type of monocropping? That is my first question. Second question is this 4-layer, 5-layer farming, which people like Akash Chaurashi are suggesting, is it covering the ground with green all around? Is it something which can be followed? These
Yeah.
are the two questions.
Yeah. See, the Europe what you saw. Is it man-made or natural?
It is natural.
Natural system, it will never be mono. It will be diverse only. You are seeing a
Is it?
grassland,
Okay.
but you have not gone into the grassland to see what all types are there. You are only seeing a green color.
Yeah,
It will be diverse only. And if the cows are grazing in a specific way, it will become more and more diverse.
Okay.
Okay. The second part is you will have to see now you understood that there should be a living root 365 days. So now you see the that 4-layer farming. Is there live roots throughout that particular 365 days? I shouldn't be telling you that it is bad or good. I'm not saying it is bad. You have to personally audit it. The principle is known to you know that there has to be a living root 365 days. But one thing is there, stopgap arrangement, you know, you have to grow some food for your vegetable requirement, or it is okay. It's not a problem. But when you go in for a mass production, then it may be, you may not be able to apply all the principles in it.
Okay. And one more question. Is there any model farm around Bangalore which we can visit and have a look?
What is it that model, what is it that you call model?
I mean, whatever
For me, a model farm is where the photosynthetic rate is high, the maximum, where all the rainwater is being harvested, where the photosynthetic capacity is highest, and where there is biodiversity. That you can see in any forest.
Yeah, next to my house, there is an empty space about 4 to 5 acres without any intervention, with some 4 or 5 cows grazing all the time. I see.
But that is also bad. You cannot leave them free to graze. There is a way they have to be grazed.
Yeah,
then it may become more
overgrazed,
diverse, and more pumping would have taken place.
I see, because there are a lot of this Parthenium also around.
Now, Smita madam is telling in the chat box that she's doing it in Bangalore. You can contact her. See her. She's given her number in the chat box. You can see.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Smita.
So thank you.
Thank you, Arvindji.
Now, what I say, Prabhuji, is that, you know, it is always good to do it.
Yeah.
It is not a big thing to do, no?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah.
Very.
So the next question is from Sachin again. Yeah.
Yes,
Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Sachin Revankar, Prabhu.
Hello, namaste. Nowadays, this hydroponics things are going on. I think I found the answer, but I wanted to hear from you how it is. Is it worth doing it?
See, if you have reached a stage wherein you don't have land and all the land is degrading and you need to eat the food. See, how this hydroponics was developed, we should first of all understand. It is on the fear that, you know, the population is increasing and something has to be done. That is how such things are being practiced or propagated. So now that you have a context that, you know, this is how I want, it is your context. You have to see whether hydroponics is in line with your context. You have to decide. You have to decide which is the principle that is happening there in the hydroponics. Is there rain falling, going down? Is there sunlight being harvested? Is there biodiversity? You have to decide, bro. We will empower you to audit. We will not audit for you. Then it is wrong. No, if I am taking a decision for you, you have to take a decision. That is what contextual decision making means. We are making a context. How is it that we want our life to be? And then we have prepared a context. And then we have to now see whether my decisions are in line with the context. Our paradigm says the more you grow, the more fertile it has to become. Is it becoming fertile? Hydroponics? You decide, bro.
Yeah.
It is to feed a slum, bro. It is to feed the slums. Tomorrow that will be the only thing to feed the slums, because all the land around the slum has become degraded. You go around Bangalore, it is getting degraded. You go around any city, the so-called city, it is all getting degraded. You go around Pune and see, it's pakka degradation. Once upon a time where Shivaji used to hide, you cannot hide anything there now. It is fully barren lands to feed the city. So now everywhere is degraded. Now the next option, there is only one option, they will say, now promote hydroponics. Who will starve? All the soil life. We cease to exist as a human being. We become a human doing when we propagate such things. Because no other soil life is protected. Which soil life is protected, Prabhu, when you're doing in hydroponics? Only human beings. Isn't it, Prabhu? Sachin Prabhu? Sachin Prabhu?
Yes, yes.
Is there any other species that is protected by doing hydroponics other than human beings?
Okay, could be some network issue. And we will go ahead with the next question quickly. The question is from Krishna Balaram.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Balaram from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Yes, Prabhu.
Same thing. I was about to ask the same kind of question. In Malaysia, also there's a promotion of organic farming and hydroponic farming,
yes,
as compared to cow farming, nature's farming.
Yes.
My question was related to that. Maybe you can enlighten us.
Yeah, the thing is, Maharaj, that we have to perform as a human being. When we have to manage all the soil life, all the life around us. That is how we have to behave as a human being. But when we do any practice that is only for human beings, then you are forgetting the other species. There is no need to do that if you are following the principles. Why do we need to do it?
One more question, sir, Dr. Sree Kumar. I noticed, I don't know the answer. I noticed here in our farms, we are using a lot of molasses, liquid brown sugar, also with the grass to feed the cow. Do you have the same practice over there in your place?
No, we needn't do that, Prabhu. If you are actually moving them now, the proper grazing system, then we don't need it.
Thank you very much for the wonderful session, sir. God bless everybody with health and long life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. The last question is from Smita.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Just that while I am learning also, there is opportunity for me to apply all this in a community kind of we are gathering, because now all by ourselves with 1 acre, 2 acre, we are not able to buy. So 70-50 of us have gathered together and we now have 125 acres.
Good.
So where do we start? And this is near Bannerghatta National Park, the land we are doing, but then we have to start. So what would be my first step? Shall I there are cows, local cows there, villagers have. So we would like them to come there, or how do we start? What would be my first step in all this? Because some of what you have taught us, we have applied in another farm, but that farm got sold.
So now this is a new project that you're doing.
Yeah, so restarting all over again, but this time it will be more permanent and everything we have freedom to do, and I am also going to buy 1 acre there.
So the first thing that you should do is you have to prepare who are the decision makers in this project? You should all sit together and make a context first. What is it that you want to do there? What are your resources? What is it that you want to achieve? How you should behave and for how long? I mean, for the same thing has to happen for 100 years. This has to happen first. All should have the same context and the same paradigm. Then only it will win. So a community, a thriving community is one which has a common context and a common paradigm. That you have to develop first. Land will simply develop once the context is ready, I assure you. But get the
So we are only 4 of us who are going to take.
sit together. No,
yeah, the 4 of us will take.
Now you gave me the first answer. Who are the decision makers? So now the decision makers should sit together and then decide what is it that you want to achieve. You saw one context that we have made. Is it the same? You want to make some decisions. Make that ready first. And then based on that only all your decisions should come. That has to come first. It is not, it is not the procedure that is important. It is the principle that is more important. There are different procedures that you see in YouTube. Do like that, do like this. No. First decide how is it that you want your life to be. How is it that I should behave to get that particular quality of life? How should I behave with the land? How should I behave with the other life? That has to be framed first. We have helped, we have made a generic context for you. You all sit together and come with that first. Rest is easy. Rest is easy.
Yeah, I have that document. I will share with you.
Okay.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Now it's like almost time up. So we have a small announcement that we are organizing another full month course. It is starting from next month. That is from 3rd July to 1st August. So that will be like Saturday and Sunday. And also we are planning to organize this session only for youth between the age 15 to 28 years of age group. So the course details and all will be launching in another few days. So we'll be sharing it in the group, and we request kindly everyone to share in your groups, and you can also join your family members or any one of your friends and all for this course. So yeah, thank you very much. And we are requesting a small questionnaire in regards to the course, so that actually we can prepare ourselves to present in a better way. So in the last for previous session, we had given you the Google link form. In that we had asked 3 questions. We received so far only 18 questions. We request today also we'll be posting after this session in the broadcast group. We request everyone to kindly send us the answers so that we can present the presentations in a better way. So yeah, thank you very much for the today's session, and we will meet again tomorrow. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Sri Kumar Prabhu. Hare Krishna. And the questions which are in the chat box, there are 2 questions are there. We request kindly to put the questions in the group so that we will be the speakers will be answering in the group. Thank you. Hare Krishna.